Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, and this is a podcast where I interview people in my bed and we talk about sleep, comedy, and relationships. This is my 59th episode. My apologies for getting it out a little bit late this week, but it's a really fun conversation. I interviewed Nikki Martin, who's a comedian in Chicago. We talked about bad dreams, even having horror sex dreams. We talked about malls. We talked about wrestling. We talked about horror movies and the creation of the Great Gouldini. You can follow Nikki on Twitter at Piss Mistress. That's Piss Mistress. And you can catch him every Tuesday at Chicago Underground Comedy. That's Chuck at the Beat Kitchen at 9 p.m. You can also catch me this upcoming Tuesday, May 2nd at Secrets, Lies, and Alibis at the Elbow Room at 8:30. This week is the National Sleep Foundation Sleep Awareness Week, so I want to bring some awareness to sleep disorders and disabilities and a shout out to everybody there. You can check out more information at sleepfoundation.org. It's a really great organization, and I definitely recommend people reaching out and supporting it. Sleeping with Sarah is brought to you by Audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah to get a free audiobook of your choice. This week, I'd like to recommend The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Mary Kondo. Again, that's audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. If you like the podcast, please rate and review and subscribe on iTunes, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Sarah Albritton and check out the website, sleepingwithsarah.com. Well, let's get started with the show.
Sleeping with Sarah.
Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton. I'm here with my guest, Nikki Martin.
Hello.
How'd you sleep last night, Nikki?
Not bad. I woke up at about 3 o'clock, and it's quite the strange dream. I felt I was in charge of a government agency with some people I've never met but know online. They put us in charge of a government agency, and then I woke up.
Did you know them just by their screen names?
No, I know their real names, but yeah, I don't really know them. But I don't know what we were supposed to be doing in this government agency, but. Strange dream, and then I woke up, and then I went and had a glass of water, and then went back to bed.
So it's pretty easy for you to go right back to sleep after?
Relatively so, yeah.
So with the government agency, did you think you were the good guy or the bad guy in this scenario?
We were bad.
Yeah?
Yeah, we were trying to sell some sort of the American people on something heinous.
Were you trying to sell like our internet histories and shit like that?
Yeah, hopefully. The specifics were vague, but it was strange. It was very strange. I never dream that specifically. Usually it's much more
broad.
Yeah.
So is it usually just kind of like out there, like, what do you mean? Like, is it just is it people you know usually in your dreams, or is it?
Yeah, it's usually people I know. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people I haven't seen for years.
Yeah.
You know, like people from high school who you're just like, oh yeah, that person exists.
And then you spend the next day looking at their Facebook page and checking them out. What is this person up to? Oh, they got 3 kids. Damn, it's been a long time since I looked them up. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel with stuff.
Yeah. And then usually I have a lot of nightmares overall. Most of my dreams are unhappy and scary.
Really? Or you think they're just the ones you remember?
Yeah, I don't know. You could be right. Maybe I have pleasant dreams that I just immediately forget.
Because they're boring and pleasant and you're happy.
But yeah, the nightmare, one reoccurring nightmare is my dad is trying to slam down my bedroom door, and he's just screaming, "I'm gonna kill you!" Which is a very scary one.
It is very scary.
I've had it since I was like 8, but my dad is not, a violent dude.
So it's not something, it's not like a memory.
Yeah, it's not a repressed memory. But, always one that comes back. Always good, too. Always very vivid. And then, do you ever get that dream where you, feel like you're falling and then you wake up and you're like, oh, I get that a lot.
I've done that sometimes. I get a lot of sleep paralysis too. So that's where you feel like your body, you're paralyzed and you can't move. Do you want another pillow?
No, I'm good.
You're like paralyzed and you can't move, but you can hear everything that's going around you.
Yes. Yeah, I get that sometimes too.
So most people, I think 5% of the population, usually experience it at least a few times in their life, but I used to do it I have medicine now that helps a lot, but I used to do it multiple times a day which was really scary.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, but that's, you know, just goes with the territory. But those are usually my scary dreams, because then I have like a hallucination on top of it, like a spider crawling my leg or something, and I can't move or scream or anything.
Oof.
Yeah, so but that's a pretty typical one. I know I mentioned that before. And then also there's like another one where there's like a man in the corner and you can't move or scream.
That's not good.
But I don't know. I tend to not have as many. I usually just remember my weird dreams. I don't have as many scary dreams. So you've been having nightmares since you were like a kid?
Yeah, I always have nightmares.
Did you ever like? I mean, I guess there's not anything you can take for nightmares, can you? Like, it's not like insomnia or narcolepsy where you can take something down.
No, I've grown to like them too.
You've grown to like them?
Yes, yeah. I guess I find them very intense, and that's kind of like a David Lynch movie or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So as much as they're scary, I don't think they're a problem necessarily.
Well, that's good. I mean, like, I feel like mine are very cinematic as well. I feel like a lot of my dreams tend to have kind of like a storyline, which I feel like, so I've been talking to people about their dreams a lot. A lot of times there aren't. In mine, they seem like they kind of are. Maybe that's just because I like movies or...
Yeah, no, mine are more just like absurdity, just like strange, like, what's going on? And then I wake up and I'm like, wow.
Are you ever somebody other than yourself?
No.
No, you're always
I'm
you.
always me. Ugh.
Color or black and white?
Both. Usually color.
That's cool. Have you ever lucid dreamed?
Where you could control it? Yeah, a few times, but it was not as cool as I would have hoped. Do you do that?
I do that sometimes. Not too often, maybe like once or twice a year. But like I usually just end up flying or having sex, you know, like in my dream, like that's what the typical.
Sure. Yeah, all my sex dreams are also nightmares.
What? Your sex dreams are also nightmares?
Yeah, they're always sex with people I don't want to have sex with.
Oh my god.
And
then why do you do it in the dream?
I don't know. Yeah. A nightmare, truly. And I'm always like, stop, and yeah.
Was it like that as a kid too? Like growing up?
No, I think when I was a teen I would have more like erotic dreams, but now I would hardly call them erotic. They're more like in like Lars Van Trier movies or something. I don't know. Like just like uncomfortable situations. And then also they'll be with people I am acquainted with or see, and then I feel awkward around them. I feel like that's probably typical, but
yeah.
I don't have a lot of sex dreams, luckily. Maybe like one every 2 years.
Oh, that's not bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be, yeah, that is weird though. The sex dream is also a nightmare. That's
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't know. Sex is horrifying. Anyway, it's just very odd. It's an odd thing that we pursue.
Yeah. I mean, I guess so. I didn't think about it that way. Yeah.
Well, it's so invasive in a way. You know, like...
It is.
Yeah.
Pretty invasive.
Like, literally,
literally invasive, yes.
Going into someone's body is like, you know, the plot of science fiction often. And it's... I don't know. I wouldn't say it's like the worst thing ever, but I do think it's overrated overall.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You think that people... Well, the thing about sex is it has created wars, you know? Like, think of, like, Helen of Troy, like, how much was happened. And she wasn't even... I don't think she had even had sex with them yet.
She would have just had sex with that horse.
I disagree. I will have to say, I do disagree with you. I don't think it's overrated. I think it's rated pretty fine, you know? Like, I think it's pretty great, but that's just me. Other than dreams, do you ever keep anybody awake when you have your nightmares? Do you say anything or scream or...
No, I live with my girlfriend and we share a bed. I think my nightmares are pretty silent, though I do like roll over a lot and like grasp onto her.
Okay. Like hold on to her for dear life?
Yeah.
You're falling into the world somewhere?
Yeah, she's the most sound sleeper ever. Mm-hmm. I'm not a sound sleeper. I could be woken up by anything.
I could sleep through anything. Like, I think you rang my doorbell twice because I accidentally fell asleep.
Yeah.
Is what I'm guessing, because the doorbell came into my dream.
Oh, cool.
So, right before Nikki came over, I was starting to get ready for the podcast, and I fell asleep, and I got woken up by the buzzer, and the buzzer showed up in my dream. I was in a mall eating froyo with my boss,
froyo.
Who I don't have, you know?
Yeah, what kind of froyo? Like the one where you choose all the toppings? Yeah,
but all I did was I just got vanilla with gummy bears and nerds on it. And it was just like...
That's plain.
Yeah, it was pretty plain. And I was like, I don't know, but
I like to try to get some sort of chocolate and then maybe
but then
berry.
But
like
then I kept
Raz.
hearing a buzz. I kept hearing the buzz. I was like, why isn't someone at the mall buzzing someone into the mall? Is what my thought was. And then I woke up.
You get those little balls that have the I don't know, the little fruit juice in them. I think they're called lychee.
Oh yeah,
I love those.
those are great. Malls though, malls aren't gonna be a thing pretty soon. It's gonna be weird,
I hear
right?
there's like 800 left.
That's it. They're becoming relics.
Did you go to the mall a lot when you were a teen?
Yeah, in Louisville. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, and there are 2 malls that are within a mile from each other, which is a little weird.
Oh wow.
There's a highway in between them, but then there's 2 different malls. So that was a thing you did. We went to the movies and we went to the mall. That was like, that's when you're like, anywhere from like 12 to like 16. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Until we got a skate park, and then I started going to that.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
I used to go to the Orland Square Mall in Orland Park, Illinois. Mm-hmm. It wasn't very fun in retrospect. Like now,
in retrospect, it's a lot of walking around and hoping you run into somebody.
Yes, yes, but not just making plans to see them in the first place.
Well, because you're so limited. When you're that age, there's not a lot you can do.
Yeah, I guess. Now I would just think like walking around a park is much more satisfying.
Oh yeah, but I still love walking a lot. I love walking around the city. It's fun.
Oh yeah, me too. I do.
Like exploring the city, walking around. Even like I've had days where I've walked like 6 miles just like hanging out with a friend, just talking, and then we stop at this bar, or then we stop at this place.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. And then in the mall, it's just like the oversaturation of seeing all that stuff like tires out your brain. I'm kind of glad malls are closing.
Well, it's also just like so much advertisement just thrown in your face. I feel like everywhere we go, there's advertisements. Like everywhere. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't, let's see, recently, when I was in LA, I went hiking to the observatory, and it was just so nice because I was like, oh, this hike. I'm not being bombarded with ads every 2 seconds. I'm like hiking and enjoying.
Sure. Was that the Runyon Canyon?
I've done Runyon, but the last one I did, I think I went to observatory.
Oh, okay.
So Griffith Observatory, it's like a good view of the Hollywood sign.
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
up to it. Like you can go to it from there. But Runyon Canyon is cool too.
I saw Robert Downey Jr. with the tiny dog. On Runyon Canyon. He was nice. He waved.
Did you say hi? You waved?
Yeah, I waved. He waved back.
That's nice. That's fun. Yeah, I did Runyon Canyon with Sydney Adeni and my friend Terry, and that was a lot of fun. But, that's the thing. Illinois is just so flat. There's not as much stuff to go do like that.
Yeah, there's not a bunch of good hikes. I guess there's, what's it called? Starved Rock is pretty decent.
Oh, yeah. I should do that. I should go there.
Yeah, it's pretty. Surprisingly pretty.
So did you grow up here?
Yep.
Yeah?
Suburbs of Chicago, called New Lenox. Home of Proud Americans is the motto. Mm-hmm. As I've grown up to be quite proud of my country, and the only thing it was known for was in 2012 it had the most heroin deaths of any town in America.
If that's not American, then what is?
Quite American. Now it doesn't even have that. Now it's like not even in the top 10. Everybody died.
I guess when you're going for like top 10 of those things, like everyone dies off and then there's nothing else.
Then there's nobody else that die. But yeah, it's a horrible place. I really hope ISIS gets it. Rooting for ISIS in that one. But then I moved to Champaign, Illinois for 4 years when I went to college, and now I live in Chicago. I've only lived in one state. I'm a very boring person.
Well, I disagree with you on that. I don't think you're a boring person at all. I don't think a boring person could create Houdini and just, like, crazy fun sketch characters that you come up with. No. Yeah. I think the reason I disagree with you is I'm a very strong believer. I think, like, being called boring is, like, the biggest insult I could get.
Oh,
so,
sure.
Like, so for me, like, that word is just like, oh, like, boring and lazy are the two, like, insults I think are like the worst. So I always like try to correct people because I don't think you're boring at all. I wouldn't have you on the podcast if you were boring. Like
well, thank you. I guess I just mean sometimes I do get self-conscious about the fact that I've never.
Have you left the state though? That's the question. Okay.
Yeah.
I once worked with a dude. He lived in like I want to say like Galena or Moline or something like that. And he worked remotely from the office I was working at. He had never left the state. He had never tried Thai food until one time we had a company thing and we had Thai food.
You like Thai?
Yeah, I love Thai. I love Thai.
I like it okay.
There's a Thai place just around the corner from me that I love. Cozy Noodles and Rice, Chicago. They've been around for like 11 or 12 years. I love that place. BYOB. Prices are great.
I like a spicy Thai dish. I find they use a lot of almond milk, which is good, but then it sweetens it a little too much, and I don't love mixing sweet and savory, but I like Thai.
See, I'd
pick Chinese over Thai.
I love mixing sweet and savory so much, like, you know, like pineapple pizza, and sure. I even do, this is something weird I do. I don't think I've said this on the podcast yet. I slice up bananas and put it on cheese pizza.
Oh, wow. That sounds decent.
Yeah.
I like anything on pizza. I'm probably going to go to Demos after we're done recording.
Yeah, Demos really, like, captured the weird food topping stuff.
They have a good vegan barbecue chicken that's really good.
Are you vegan?
I'm vegetarian.
Vegetarian? How long have you been vegetarian?
About a year now.
Yeah?
Yeah, so not very long.
Was that by choice or by, like, I mean...
Wow, somebody put a gun right to my head. Eat meat again and you're done. And then they come and check in every day.
I guess that is ridiculous. But we're out of, like, you know...
Like dietary necessity?
Yeah, not necessity. Or, like, for example, like, I was in a long-term relationship and my boyfriend at the time, he decided to become vegetarian. And I was mostly vegetarian because we lived together and we, you know...
Sure,
and so it was, like, almost, like... vegetarian not by choice. Like, yes. I mean, I still went out and, like, ate meat and, yeah. But for a while, I would just cook bacon in the mornings to see if I could get him to change over, which is mean.
Yeah. No, I guess Jess is vegetarian as well. But we dated for 3 years before I became vegetarian, so now...
See,
now I am.
The thing is about dating, it's so food dependent.
I guess
like,
you're
all
right.
the
It
things
is a
you
lot
do,
of sharing
like
meals.
you have to. I feel like I'm not sure if I could like date somebody that doesn't like meat because I feel like that would change your. In Chicago, maybe it's not so bad, but I feel like it would change your options so much. You know?
Yeah. There's always something on the menu though.
Yeah, you're right. In Chicago, if you're living like in New Lenox, maybe not.
Yeah, New Lenox does suck for vegetarian food. It's mostly chains anyway.
Yeah. Was it anything you read that made you, like, want to go vegetarian, or?
No. No, I just thought about it, and I remember the day, it was July 4th last year, and I ate a taco that I usually liked, but then I couldn't get over the fact that it was the flesh of a rotting beast.
Oh, wow.
Which is what meat is.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, okay.
Yeah. For me, it's like, I don't know. I really like meat, and maybe that's selfish of me, but I really like meat, and I really enjoy it. And
no, I think that's normal. I think people have been eating meat the whole time people have been people, so...
Yeah.
It's just a aversion I have, you know, like, some people probably don't like crushed red pepper as much as I do.
What does your shirt say?
Oh! It's Grimy Ghost. They rule. They are a video editing collective out in LA, and they, like, find old VHS tapes from the 90s and, like, make them into funny, cool Vines and YouTubes and stuff like that.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Check them out. They're on YouTube now. Oh, and Twitter, too. I guess rest in peace, Vine.
Yeah.
But they have the best Vines of all time.
Yeah, so they would just take old school movies and make... How would they change them? What would they do to them?
Yeah, they'll add, like, an effect or something. Well, some movies, but a lot of, like, instructional tapes or... dance tapes or workout tapes, but then they'll sometimes find, you know, that like just direct to VHS market the 90s had.
Yeah,
they'll find weird stuff from there.
Return of Jafar. Yeah,
cut it up. Yeah. Oh, that was the one without Robin Williams.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I liked it though when I was a kid. I remember that was like the first time I had ever heard about a thing and then got excited that it was coming out and been like anxiously awaited it. I loved it when it came out. My parents were like, this is bad.
Oh, gosh, yeah. All those movies. Like, I didn't watch a lot of the sequels. Like, I didn't watch the Lion King sequels or the Pocahontas sequels. Like, some of them just don't make sense. Pocahontas, she said goodbye. They're not going to come back together. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't think I saw any of them except Return of Jafar.
Yeah.
And then the other one, there was a third one, but I couldn't tell you what it was called. I think it was
King of Thieves. Yeah, Thieves. Like the 40 Thieves or something of Alibaba or something. I remember watching it like once.
Yeah. Shout out to everyone who went to my third birthday party. It was an Aladdin birthday party.
Oh, yeah? Aladdin themed birthday party.
Yeah, I remember my Aunt Mary was like, you could have an Aladdin birthday party. And I was like, are you fucking around right now? I probably didn't say fucking, but...
I'd love it if someone like started analyzing like toddler speak and found out the equivalent of fuck, because I bet there is like a word that they use like just naturally that just
yeah, like sort of just that. Well, fuck's neat because it could be like any part of speech.
So did you always do performing when you were younger, or was that something?
No, not really. Honestly, I was in speech team in high school for like a year, but no, I was too self-conscious.
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, I would like get really nervous and stuff. So I guess I didn't try until I went to college.
How'd you get over that?
I guess just doing it a bunch.
Yeah, just growing some balls and doing it.
Yeah.
Being like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna do it.
I started in Champaign, and they're still there. Jesse and Justin Tuttle run it. It's a good room, really good room, and it's a nice community. And
so you started stand up. You didn't do, because I know you also do sketch and you do some video stuff too, and
yeah, I did improv too in college, and that helped as well. Yeah, we actually had probably the best arrangement I've ever heard of. The school let us do like 2 performances a week.
What?
Like just 2 performances a week, and after I graduated, they were like, "Oh yeah, this is way too good to be true." So
yeah, that's really lucky. Oh my gosh.
yeah, but
Just
that
gave you
totally
the
got
space,
over the stage fright and anything like
well,
that.
because you're doing that every week. You're really working on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So did you start with improv and then you did stand up, or start with
Other way around. Stand up then improv. Yeah.
Gotcha. So that's really cool. So you were doing that all through college, and then you came here after?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
You were a performance major or anything like that? Or?
Nope. English literature.
Yes, English. I always think of that Avenue Q song. What do you do with a BA in English?
I saw that in college. That was a cute musical.
Yeah, I thought that was done well.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that is why Book of Mormon exists. Because
Okay.
the guy that wrote that, afterwards, Trey Parker, Matt Stone, went and talked to him backstage after seeing a show, and they're like, hey, we have this idea about Mormons, and then the 3 of them wrote Book of Mormon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good choice on his part. Well, I guess if the South Park guys approach you.
Yeah, I mean, like, you don't really say no, you know, 'cause that musical was made for, like, so cheap. Like, I think, like, $4 million, $5 million for, like, the initial run or something. Like, it was, like, ridiculously low budget.
Wow,
so, the fact that it ended up winning, I think it ended up winning, like, several Tonys or something.
Yeah, I think I won them all.
Yeah, it's always usually one. It's just, like, one that just takes it all. I don't know. So you came to Chicago, and was that different for you, like, in terms of stand-up and improv? Did you take classes at any of those spaces? Or?
I did for a minute. I kind of I preferred going to open mics, I guess, than classes, just because I was also broke.
Yeah.
I never, like, picked it back up. But, I mean, they were fun. I was broke at the time.
Yeah, I think everyone goes through a broke time in Chicago. And Chicago's a good city to be broke, because you can get by fairly all right, you know, not having a ton.
Yeah, totally. So it's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's cool. And so, so just miking and doing shows. And how'd you get to connect with, like, Steven and Blake? Because you guys have this cool, like, stuff that, like, cool random shows or oddball shows, I'd say. Like,
Yeah.
like, and I mean that in a good way, like, the unique, like, shows that you don't really see other places.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. So I met Stephen Blake at Mike's. In particular, this is not an open mic. It used to be Blake and Dave Marr ran a mic in, like, a Humboldt Park art gallery. Olivia Lilly is the one who owns it. It was a cool place. And we just, like, realized we had a similar sensibility. In particular, we watched Conan during the 90s and early 2000s, like when Andy was still around.
Yeah.
So then we just Steve had the idea for Super Talent Show. We did that at I.O. It was fun. It was kind of like Eric Andre meets the Muppets was how we pitched it to him.
Yeah, that was a fun show. I like that.
Yeah, it was a good show. And then, and then we still, hang out and do stuff together. But Steve just moved.
Yeah, I know. He just moved. He just
Shout
moved to
out to
LA.
Steve. What up, Steve?
Yeah. So wait, Conan so how did you feel about the whole Conan stuff that went down? Like, I was upset about it. I refused to watch Leno after that.
Oh, yeah, I never watched Leno. So I didn't, like, I wasn't like, all right, Leno, that's it between you and I. But I think it was cool when he did the last week of shows. Like, those were sweet. But the whole Tonight Show, I don't know. You kind of have a lot of constraints on you if you're on the most popular show on TV.
Yeah.
Or one of them, anyway.
So, like, you'd want to be on a show that's not the most popular so you can get away with doing whatever you want.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody the other day, like, Craig Ferguson's show seemed like the coolest one, probably because nobody cared what he did. Like, he could just make it up off the top of his head, and it was so funny and just so, like, fearless. But I guess that only comes with the fact that it's like, oh yeah, you probably should have been canceled by now.
And, like, once it catches on, then it's hard to get away with some of that stuff, too. It's like... like with anything, like, I mean, like, but I think what the best shows do is that they create something that's funny for them, and then enough people find it funny, you know, like Arrested Development, which should have continued on after the 3 seasons, I think, but, you know, which they did, like, 10 years later, but, like, that.
Yeah.
But it's also, like...
I'm anxiously awaiting that season 5.
I know.
Spoiler alert, did you see the 4th one?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he punches his dad, and it's like, oh, what's going to happen?
Yeah, exactly. I think that show's done really well. I think a lot of shows, like, I think they peak at, like, season 3, season 4. So Conan was a big influence, yeah?
Yeah, old Conan, I love that.
Yeah, the late night Conan. I like that. The only thing that sucks about that is, like, you realize he didn't get to keep his characters, like the masturbating bear and, like, things like that. Like, they own it all. And that's the only thing that sucks about the corporate versus, like, making your own shit is, like, you can keep it yourself.
Yeah. Oh, well. I mean, like, it's just funny because you could tell some of that stuff was probably, like, thought up. Just very random.
Very
like,
last
Preparation
minute.
H. Raymond.
Well,
and
yeah,
it's like, that's not really a character
like,
even.
Yeah, you're probably like, hey, what can we do real quick? We need, like, a 2-minute filler, and somebody just comes up with something.
Yeah, and then sometimes it's the funniest stuff, but, I don't know. I haven't watched too much of his TBS show, but...
I watched it the other night because Ian Abramson was on.
Yeah, we were watching
What'd you think of that? Yeah, you were at the bar, too.
Ian's set was cool. Loved it.
I thought the choke collar was really interesting. Like, that was an interesting move. So, for those of you who haven't seen it, watch Ian Abramson's Conan set. He takes a shock collar, puts it around his neck, and hands the button to an audience member, tells them to shock him whenever he's not funny.
Yeah. He got shocked a few times.
Yeah, and you could tell it was real. It wasn't, like, fucking around. It was
I've seen him do that bit, and he let me touch the thing, and it gives you a good jolt.
So have you shocked Ian Abramson before?
Yep, and I've shocked myself with it. It gives you a jolt. It really does.
Did you put it on? Like, you tried it? That's cool. See, I think it's really interesting when you try, like, outside the box things like that with, like, that and, you know, Steven. I think it's really interesting. I've never done anything like that outrageous on stage, but I really enjoy watching it.
Yeah, I try to freak people out too, but usually not to my own personal harm. I'd rather harm the audience. If possible, I'd like to shock them or...
So how do you freak people out in the audience when you're...
Oh, I guess just with words. I did a set the other day. My friend Robel runs a show called Bomb Ass Set where you're deliberately supposed to bomb. So I told, like, a lot of my most offensive things, and the improvisers were like, so where did you perform those? And I was like, open mic. Yeah, they were horrified.
So the idea of this is to bomb on purpose. That's fun.
Yeah, and then you get a redemption set, and then you get to, like, do your good jokes.
That's cool. But I always think it's interesting how different audiences are with that. So some audiences you bomb in front, you know, and just playing to the room and that kind of thing. Figuring that out takes a while though. But but yeah. But you also help out with, like, Dave Mahler's stuff, right? Like his punk show, his show at the Punk House and stuff. Yeah,
I helped with a few of those. We did the one where he dressed up as Satan.
I was at that one.
Yeah, that one was great. He'll dress up as Satan and he'll wear, like, a Lycra red suit and paint his face red, and he looks just so silly. He and I are good pals. He's always thinking of crazy shows.
Yeah. I'm
admiring your bed frame.
Oh, yes. This is from my childhood. Like, this is
it brass?
Yeah, I think it's brass. I don't know. I've had it since I was, like, a kid. Like, honestly.
You've always had a full? What is it, a full?
It's a queen.
It was a queen.
Yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, it was my older sister's, and then she went to college. Well, she didn't really live with us. She's our half sister. She lived with her mom, but then I moved into her room because I wanted to live in the basement.
Cool.
Because when you're a teenager, you're like, oh, I want to live somewhere farther away from everybody else.
Yeah, right. When I was a teen, I had a twin.
What?
Or like a twin bed. Not like a twin
Okay, I
brother.
thought you were about to go into like, I had a twin brother.
I had a twin, I
and go
ate
into this
him. Not in the room.
and go
Just
into
like
this
I ate the motherfucker.
dark story and be like, oh, and I was like, this explains your nightmares.
No, I had a twin. And then I got...
Sorry for a second.
That would rule if I never told anyone. Oh yeah, you
And
don't
on
know.
this podcast,
You don't know.
Nicky Martin, the
Little
story.
Dicky Martin.
Now you have to do a character as your twin.
Oh yeah. But I had a twin bed, and I never even considered. But now I have a full. Oh, what a dream!
Yeah.
You can move, you can roll. I used to fall off the twin bed, and I was like, well, I guess that's just how beds are. Just fall off them.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Nope, only child.
Only child, yeah?
Mhm.
So did you play a lot of video games and stuff growing up? Or
I did.
I don't mean to assume... I played a lot of video games and I wasn't an only child. That was just like a thing you did.
Yeah, I played a lot of video games, watched a lot of TV, hung out a lot with pals at their houses and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really know the alternative, so I guess it's fine. Sometimes I think that like it would have been nice to have a brother or sister growing up, but then I see my friends with brothers and sisters now, and sometimes like they'll despise them or
Yeah,
or
they
have to
have-
like take care of them and shit, and I'm like, oh, that seems like an asshole.
Yeah, it is. It's a little different. I don't know. It's good and bad. You know, there's times where you get along with them, sometimes you don't, and sometimes like, yeah, it's always odd. So it's, I don't know. Siblings are weird. I mean, they're fine, but I just don't have any that I've lived nearby in a long time. So
Oh, sure. Do they all live down in Kentucky?
Kentucky, yeah. They all live in Kentucky, and like two of my sisters each have a kid,
Ooh.
and then my brother's married now.
So you're an aunt.
Yeah, I'm an aunt. It's very weird because I never know what to do with the kids. I always feel like kind of out of my element. I'm like, oh yeah, we can do this fun thing. And I don't know, it's still fun. It's just like I'm always nervous around kids. I think like I'm gonna fuck them up or something.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. You might.
Yeah, it's totally true.
I guess I've learned with kids, like, they don't give a shit what you say. So they want to talk. And if you let them say their little things, it's more fun anyway. So
One of my nephews doesn't, like, the only time I can get him to talk about anything is about sports. So I find myself, like, researching sports stuff before going over to talk to him so I have something to talk to him about because I know nothing about sport. Like,
yeah.
do you play any sports?
Not really. I actually have grown to like them more lately. I've recently been watching professional wrestling, which is more sports entertainment than sports.
I want to talk about, because I didn't realize until like a year and a half ago, I was watching SummerSlam with, it was like Mark Morrow and Jonah Jerkins and I think Jeff Arcuri and a few other people. Like, I don't know how, we ended up coming back from some show and they're like, hey, let's all go hang out at Jonah's. It's like, okay. And then we ended up watching the SummerSlam and I never really watched professional wrestling before, and it's really fun. It's like stage fighting for adults.
It rules.
I think my problem with it growing up is I thought the people that watched it thought it was real, and I was like, don't they know this is fake? And I was like, oh, they know it's fake, but it's enjoyable.
Yeah, I think, and the element of fakeness, like, of course they're not really slamming their head, but they are slamming their head. Like, you know, it doesn't feel good, and all the wrestlers usually die before they're 50 because they fuck their bodies up so bad.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, I do not envy them. They're like on the road 300 days a year and stuff. It seems very intense. So I guess like in some regard it is fake. It's not real like UFC is real. But if you watch UFC, it's like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
Ultimate Fighting Champions or something?
I don't know if it's, yeah, I think you're exactly right.
So that is wrestling for real.
Yeah,
like,
well, it's
fake,
more, you could punch. You know, you could punch right in the head.
But is that still planned out who wins?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more, it's almost like mixed martial arts, you know, just fighting as hard as you can.
We've got all these things like fighting, like all these sports is all like, oh, like finding a way to make fighting entertainment because I wonder if it's because we have this urge to like fight.
Yeah, I don't myself. That's I like wrestling because it's so like theatrical and silly. I like the costumes and the buff dudes. That's always cool to see.
I like that there's
nice buff dude.
That there's such like a history of the characters and like there's a whole like world of characters there and like their history on who they have beef with and who they don't, you know, like, so I think that's really fascinating that they've created this entire world, almost like a kind of like a superhero dichotomy or something like that.
Yeah,
Totally. Yeah, it's like a universe. That's what they call it. They say the WWE universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't even know that. Like, I used to be very anti-sports, and then I realized it was kind of silly, to be stridently anti-anything except, like, I don't know, fascism. Seems kind of absurd.
Yeah. Anti-war, anti-fascist. Yeah. But, yeah, that's a good point. It's hard to be anti-anything. Mm-hmm. But, so what, were you did you, like, purposely, like, not, fuck the pep rally, I'm gonna go home and do something better?
Yeah. We actually had mandatory ones. I think that was partly why I didn't like it, was because, like, authority figures told me I had to, but then I realized, that's fine. I don't know. I try to get back in my mindset as an angry teenager, and I thankfully can't, which is good. I was just pissed all the time. I didn't smoke weed. And then
Do you think that you would have been less angry had you smoked weed?
that would have been the solution there.
Do you smoke weed now?
I actually just quit this year.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's going okay. It does make sleeping a lot more difficult. Especially, like, when you're going through the withdrawals of it. Mm-hmm. I was staying up till, like, 4 every morning and then, like, sleeping 3 hours or something.
Gotcha.
Very weird. It's weird how I think that's the main change, is the THC, as it, like, leaves your system, really affects your sleeping.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Did you smoke a lot and then you just decided to quit? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah.
I took the good Dr. Dre's advice and smoked it every day. But now I haven't smoked in like a month, so that's cool.
That's pretty good. That's awesome. Congrats. Any particular reason? Just because you wanted to see? Yeah,
I just want to be a straight edge vegetarian to bother everyone, so I could just be maximum annoying.
Yeah. That's cool. I still smoke a bit, but I don't do it like every day. In college, I think like my last semester of college, I smoked like every day. But
yeah,
it's been a long time since I've done that.
Mm-hmm. Does that affect your sleeping?
No, I mean I could still sleep. I could fall asleep. I could fall asleep right now if I really wanted to. Like I'm
sure.
It's so easy for me to.
I'll watch.
No, but what it does help is because I'm on uppers to stay awake. So sometimes. So people will notice when I'm talking to them if my medicine kicks in or not, because I start talking very fast. And this was a problem I had when I started stand-up, is the combination of adrenaline and the Ritalin and everything, when I went on stage, I would talk.
That's the upper, the Ritalin? Mm-hmm. You ever crush that stuff up, snort it?
No. No.
Some real Ritalin.
The thing is, I've even tried, like, cocaine before, and, like, it's as if I took twice as much Ritalin. It doesn't do anything for me, because my body's used to it.
I've never tried the cocaine.
I wouldn't recommend it. It's not that much fun. It's like...
No.
Like, do shrooms. That's way better.
Yeah, I've had those. Those are fun, but intense.
Do you have nightmarish shroom experiences?
Oh, yeah.
So
my brain is a nightmare. Yeah? Just always horror. Always.
Do you ever write horror?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah?
I mean, that's really how I thought of the Goldini character.
Yes.
Is I'm very into horror and...
Well, what kind of horror stuff? Let's...
I really like the whole gamut. Even...
Everything?
Yeah, even like... even the stuff that people say I hate, like the torture porn of the early aughts. I like that stuff. I think it's funny. Especially because it's fake. If it was real, I wouldn't like it. But and then I love Hammer horror, like the Wolfman and the Frankenstein. And I really like the stuff when it gets past that and they start like meeting each other, like Wolfman meets Frankenstein. I find that to just be so quaint and funny. And also, I think it's insane that used to scare people,
Yeah, I know. Some of that is just like... But then you think of, like, I watch old Hitchcock films and the way he uses the music and the way he's so brilliant. Like, I love...
Those are suspenseful. You feel the, like...
I love Rear Window. Like, I love that film. That's probably my favorite Hitchcock film. I mean, of course, like, Birds and Psycho, those are great, too. Vertigo, but, like...
I like Hitchcock a lot, but I totally get how those scare people. Those even are still scary. If you empathize with the character, I mean, it's like, oh, fuck, you could get stabbed in the face. That would suck.
But I guess those are more suspense than horror in your mind. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Horror is more like Scream.
Scream is a great one. I like any sort of... I like the slasher movies, even though they're very
what about
procedural and the same.
Repetitiveness of it, like the sequel after sequel after sequel. Do you think that's...
Yeah, I mean, then it sort of allows you to be like a snob, and you could be like, Jason 6 is the best one because it has all the elements I like. But then I guess too, that seems to have gone away in the last 7 years now. Since like 2010, I guess Paranormal Activity has had a lot of
that was
sequels,
one.
but otherwise, it seems like horror's really had like a lot of cool indie films. I mean, Get Out is almost the
Oh my God,
culmination
yes.
of that.
And I've been talking about that. I've talked about that a few different times on my podcast. I thought that film was done so
Amazing
well.
film.
And
But I think that people are forgetting that horror has had some bomb-ass shit for the last 7 years. Because the studios are like, okay, it'll only cost...
Well, because it's so low budget. That's how a lot of people get started. You think of like Blair Witch Project and like... I've seen Paranormal Activity, but I'm trying to think of other ones. I haven't seen a ton of horror movies. Like, I didn't see the Ouija one or that
I
stuff.
wanted to see that. I didn't see
There was
it.
some Santa Claus one, too, that was supposed to be like...
Krampus. It was decent. It could have been better.
Yeah.
I think the reason it was fine was because they spent a lot of money on the cast and not enough on just like Krampus coming down the chimney and stabbing me with a candy cane and something like that.
Have you ever made like a fake horror movie? Like a short one?
Yeah, me and my friend have been making sort of homages to the silent era horror.
Oh.
Yeah, check them out on YouTube. It's The Great Gouldini.
Yeah, explain how you came up with the Great Gouldini.
Well, there's Sven Gooley, folks from Chicago will remember. He's still on WCIU, or maybe it's MeTV. I think it's MeTV now. Anyway, he's still on. Every Saturday he's a horror host, and I'll introduce a movie, and I'll say like, "Oh, look, it's a campy, silly movie," and I'll do a lot of puns. I like Sven Gooley a lot, but there was one other horror host in particular who is rather obscure. His name is John Zacherle, and he made silly, spooky songs about like Dracula inviting you to dinner and stuff like that. Very silly stuff. And I heard that and I was like, oh, I could probably write a funny, spooky song. And I have a friend, his name's Evan Metz. Check out his band, it's Grandkids. I don't know, plugs. Anyway, he was like, yeah, I'll write you a backing track. And then I wrote a song called The Vampire Who Eats Ass. And I sang the song a few times and people seem to like it. And then I feel like I very much understand that character. So I keep putting on all this goofy grease paint and
yeah, because you go all out. Your full face makeup. How long does that take?
not that long.
Yeah.
It's 15 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, yeah. I don't put it on very well. I've only recently discovered that I like wearing makeup a lot.
Oh, yeah?
But,
Are you going to wear it normally, or?
no, probably not. I mean more like special effects makeup and stuff
Oh,
like that.
gotcha. Not normal everyday makeup.
Yeah, no, I mean, it I think that's cool too, and I could see the fun of wearing that, but at the same time, it does seem like a expensive and time-consuming
makeup
task.
is pretty expensive.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it is. It's a weird thing that we feel like we have to have, you know?
But, with the silent movies, there's a particular thing in Chicago that I love. The Music Box does it, the Patio Theater does it. It's these 24-hour horror marathons, and they usually do them in October, and I've been going to those for a few years, and there's actually like a wide gamut of 1920s horror movies that are pretty cool, and we are sort of paying homage to those, or maybe even Charlie Chaplin or something like that. So yeah, if you want it, so that is as close as I came to making my own horror movie, but I do hope to make a feature one day somehow. You probably could for very cheap.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Peele did it for what, $4 million? I think 4 or 5. I think it was pretty.
And it's so
That was
expertly
and actually,
professional.
you know that he's wanting to do a series. Like he wants to do like 4 or 5 other horror movies that are all inspired by social issues.
Yeah, I hope he does.
Which is really cool.
I'll see them all.
And that was the first horror movie I'd seen in the theater in a long time. Like I don't usually see horror movies in the theater. What? Like I'm trying to think.
I think they're so much better in the theater because then you have everybody else's reaction. Some if you really want to get scared, you can watch it alone in your house. But if you watch it in a theater, I feel like it's not as scary because you're experiencing it with everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, and I actually did jump at Get Out a couple of places, but I loved how much comedy there was with that too to relieve that tension. So
totally.
I think it's interesting that you're a comedian, but also really fascinated with horror, trying to find a combo with that because that's usually not combined as much.
Yeah. I guess to some of the my sense of humor is always gravitated toward the darker. Like I think death is very funny, which some people would disagree, but that's fine. And I guess the combination there really makes sense. Like I think it's really funny when Jason will garrote someone in the Friday the 13th movie.
So you're laughing while other people are scared?
Oh, totally. Because they're not really dying. If they were really dying, it would be horrible. I wouldn't watch it. But they're pretending to die and then, putting jelly and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you're like sitting there laughing. That's funny. So you find death funny overall? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's very funny. It's got to be the silliest thing that happens to people.
Yeah.
It's just like one day you're moving and up and around, and then the next day you're kind of just a bunch of garbage. Just a bunch of trash, and we're like, fuck, we gotta bury this now, I guess.
Yeah. It is a weird concept, I guess. Now there's all the weird things that they have people like doing too. Like my dad wants to be a part of a coral reef. I guess you can make a fake coral reef that goes in the ocean, and he wants all of us to have like a section where all of our remains end up or something. Like
cool.
weird shit like that.
Then you could be like a house for fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
You can get your ashes pressed into a record.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Then you can make your future offspring listen to all the shitty songs you loved. Like,
oh my god,
listen to it.
But I wonder if there's an afterlife, like you'd be like, damn it, why did I pick that song to represent me? You know, because your tastes change over time for movies and music and everything.
Yeah, I could think of a few songs that I would want to crank.
Well, there are a few albums that I love. You know, like I love No Doubt's Tragic Kingdom. Like that's an album that I fucking love. You know, there's some albums. Individual ones that I think, but I've never had like a record player or record collection. So
yeah, I have records, but I don't have a player. They're at my parents' house. I used to have a player, but I don't know.
Yeah,
everything's a nightmare. I mean, particularly like all this stuff. I guess because I'm moving to a new apartment, it's like you have to fucking lift it. And
you've got so much stuff. You realize. That's what I realized. I realized I have so much stuff, and I'm trying to.
It's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, we have too much stuff. Why are we so materialistic? I don't know. Like. It's just crazy. That's why I like creating stuff, because at least we're putting something out there, and it's not something that weighs you down like books and random stuff. You know, like I love my books. I'm not getting rid of my books, but
yeah.
But yeah, what's the scariest movie you've ever seen?
Oh my gosh. I hate that I can't remember the name of it. Oh, I can. I think. Wait, frick. Yes, I can. It's a David Cronenberg movie. It's called Shivers. And earlier when I was talking about how sex is like, to me, kind of an invasive and scary thing, honestly, this movie was very fundamental in me thinking that. I think I saw it like 2 years ago. Very cool movie about this disease that turns everyone into like a raving madman who's like insatiable for sex, women and men, and they'll like rip you apart to have sex with your amputated legs and shit. Oh, it is so scary. It scared the ever loving shit out of me, and I really recommend it. It's very you probably have to video on demand it. I don't think
and maybe don't do it on a date. If you're
oh no, it would totally turn everybody off. It's one of the few movies that has nudity where it's like not erotic at all. It's like completely repulsive. It's like, oh god, ugh.
So this is where your nightmares about sex come from. This movie.
Possibly. Honestly, possibly.
Or there was this movie where like the vagina like bit people or something. Teeth. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one.
I never saw that.
It's cute.
It's cute.
The way they do special effects is pretty cool. Mostly it's like the guy will have sex with the lady and then he'll pull back and then there's blood all over his pants because his dick got bitten off by the vagina with teeth. Yeah, it's okay. I liked it. I think it was only like $1 million, so it's very impressive for how much it cost.
That's always interesting how they do that. They're just like, oh, we're gonna rent a house for 3 weeks and then put a film crew in and get some actors and just do it.
What was that? There was a really scary haunted house movie that I can't remember the name of, but exactly that, where it's like you have this big haunted house and then it kind of makes you rethink how scary your own house is. Like, oh shit, somebody could be hiding in all the corners and I could just get murdered at any time.
Well, the weird thing is I have a crazy imagination, so like whenever I like see something, like it always does like affect me because I do start thinking about that. I was like, oh, is there more? And this made me think of this. I've only seen one play that was like a horror play, but it was very, they made it into a movie, The Woman in Black.
Oh, I should see that. I haven't seen it.
I saw it as a play when I was in London, and it was like, I've never been scared in a play before. Like, I've never been like scared as like a movie, but that like
what
scared
me. You by?
Well, it was really, I don't know how to explain it, because the set was huge, it was amazing, but like, they had the character, the Woman in Black, which was actually just credited as a special effect, not really an actress, because she just appears in different places, and it's just, I don't know how to explain it, but there were just things that you're just like, how did that happen? And you don't expect it. There's the music, there's everything, but I've never because usually when you're in a play, you're kind of more aware of where you're at, you know?
Yeah.
And aware that it's all fake. And it still is, but there's just something about it that just, like, actually, like, made me jump up and, like, and that was really cool. But they've made that, I haven't seen the movie version, but I remember being terrified during the play.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. I would love to be scared during live theater.
Yeah.
That's like a goal of mine,
No.
to make live theater where everybody leaves and is just like, holy shit, I'm scared.
But, like, what about that, like, that line, like, fucking with the audience line?
Yeah, I guess that's might be why I like horrors, because with comedy you're kind of expected to make them leave and be like, oh, what a fun, mirthful time we had. But I don't like that as much from art. I like to be like,
Disturbed.
yes, yeah. And this, now that we talk about it in context, this is definitely why I have nightmares all the time,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm always thinking about this stuff.
I'm glad we're solving this problem for you.
Yeah.
Well, so you like to be disturbed at the end, yeah? Because
Totally.
I remember being at a couple plays where, like, the end is supposed to be, like, disturbing. You know what I mean? Like, what was it? I was in the lottery. I played the woman that got stoned in the lottery, like, as a kid, and they like,
That is a scary play.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's a
guess it
play
is.
you leave and you kind of. It's not like a jump scare, but it's more like a, oh god.
That's So what they had me at the very end, it was like I was in the center and everyone around me, and then they had like their lights turn red. They play Paint It Black, and I just was supposed to stare into the eyes of all the audience.
Oh yeah, that song. I don't know if you've ever played Twisted Metal Black,
Oh,
but that plays at the end of that, and then like, all the characters. The premise of the game is there's all these like fucked up lunatics, like literally lunatics, break out of a mental asylum, and they all get demolition derby cars that have rocket launchers on them, and you have to blow up all the other lunatics.
wow.
But then they each have, and then I just remember that song like really scaring me when I was 12. I was like, oh, this is such a scary song, but it's the Rolling Stones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. Have you ever done anything where you're like, I feel like I'm living in a horror movie? Like been stranded or anything crazy happen?
When I was in a really bad storm,
Yeah.
yeah, I saw the movie The Perfect Storm, which is a horrible film, and then on the way home,
I love that we're like, this film's great, this film's horrible.
after The Perfect Storm, we went home and like trees had collapsed on the road, and we were seeing lightning hit the poles, and that was crazy. Very scary storm. But otherwise, no, luckily, I've not had too many traumatic experiences, especially not violent ones. You know,
Yeah.
they're more like quiet traumas.
So you like to fuck with the audience in a way where it's almost like I mean, like, how do you feel about like Kaufman and the stuff that he did? Like,
He's
like
rules.
with like really like do you think he's really dead? Do you think it like do you think it like it's that crazy extent? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, he rules. He's definitely dead.
yeah.
But yeah,
But you get what I mean, yeah.
yeah, big influence on me. I really like Tim and Eric too.
Mm-hmm.
That was sort of my big comedy like obsession.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't fuck with the audience that bad, but they do like a lot of like gross out gags and stuff like that. And where I would say even too, I have a fascination with gore and stuff like that.
See, I have an aversion to gore. I'm okay with movies now, but it took me a long time to be okay with like very bloody stuff on movies. And like if I see blood in real life, like I faint almost.
Oh yeah,
Like-
I also have a fainting thing, but it's if I'm described. Like if someone told me about a surgery, I would pass out.
I'm the same thing. Like I have such an imagination. If someone like I have a fear of my knee dislocating because I was in a storytelling class in college and we had to talk about everyone had to describe a time when they broke a bone or something. Somebody described how their kneecap like slid down their leg, and since I know, like since then I have been utterly paranoid just from that one story because I can if somebody describes something I can visualize it in my head. And I'm just like I've literally told I've stopped people in the middle of the story. Stop! Do not go any further
yeah.
because like this is freaking me out.
That showed Ladylike at Cafe Mustache.
Mm-hmm.
I went once and I passed out twice at the show.
So I was like, yeah, they're in particular genital mutilation really gets me, and if I hear about it, I just am like, woof.
Well, it's just like it feels so real because like I said, I've got a very vivid imagination, so I can see it. If somebody describes something to it, I can see it in my head, and I can like almost like
Me too. I would rather see it on film than see it in my head.
because in your head it's probably worse.
Exactly.
So, do you, as an audience member, since you like audiences leaving this way, as an audience member, do you like it when you're like when you leave a film or something, you're like, oh, that was really fucked up? Like,
Oh yeah,
you
yeah,
like
that's my
that.
favorite. Yeah.
Is it because it makes you think about certain things, or is it
It makes you go to places you probably haven't gone in your
in your brain?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's more like pushing the audience to that envelope.
Yes, totally.
And with stand-up, you don't do that as much because clearly you're making people laugh.
Yeah, because if you do, then nobody wants to put you on their show. Yeah.
Because everyone's like, what the fuck is this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's a medium. I've definitely been to some experimental theater stuff where you're kind of like that at the end.
Yeah.
Or like some weird plays like 448 Psychosis is like a weird play by Sarah Kane, like the dark in-your-face theater. I don't know if you've ever read any of that stuff, but that's really...
I haven't really.
Like Mark Ravenhill. There's in like the early aughts, there was like a group of... I studied this in theater school, but like there's a group of like British playwrights that were all like, it was like extremely dark and like serious. Like 448 Psychosis is this woman like losing her mind.
Ooh,
and
cool.
And so it's her talking to herself, and like the playwright actually ended up killing herself. So it's like it's very dark, but very fascinating because she's I actually saw it performed once, but like it's really fascinating how it can be done. And it's like you are like in shock afterwards. You're like, oh wow, you know, like that, you know, and it's so real because this is a person that's literally going crazy in the play, and the author also went crazy. So it's just kind of
Wow.
But like that stuff is kind of cool, like fucking with the audience in that way too.
Yeah.
But sometimes I wonder if it's, like, too much of a line. You're like, okay, that's too dark for the things that we're going through. Like, in society right now, I wonder, like, what is, like, the line of being too dark for things, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we're right on the precipice of a global calamity. No matter how you look at it, I mean...
We're living in a horror movie.
Exactly, yeah. No matter how you look at it seems like something will happen we'll hardly have time to...
Process.
Yeah, process it, so we'll just have to live it.
Oh, God. What do you think that'll be? That's going to be... Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully, if we're lucky, it won't be any government thing. It'll just be global warming.
Yeah. Or they'll just blow up New Linux.
yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know. It's a little scary. It's scary. I think that's why people are gravitating towards comedy so much and entertainment. As you know, well, like in these situations, like people want to be entertained and have their mind not reminded of that, I guess. That's why I typically don't talk about politics in my comedy, and I don't think you do either, right?
Oh, no, I do.
No.
I do.
You do sometimes? Yeah.
Yeah. Especially since Donald Trump, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to.
You feel like it's your duty to say stuff?
That or more just like it's on my mind so much. It's like one of the main things I'm thinking about, so.
Yeah, I hate, for me, it's like so, I find myself getting stressed about it, like thinking about things. It's like, oh, like stupid things that don't make sense because I live in a liberal state and like, you know, I live in a city and it's fine, but I'm just like thinking about other people, other places and like all this stuff. And it's like, I don't know. Sorry, I didn't mean to get so like dark and weird with it, but it's like, I think it is interesting how we choose to put our points of view through the comedy or through the horror, like Jordan Peele did, which I thought was such a good depiction of like racism and explaining that, you know, and sharing that.
Totally.
Like, I don't know if you're familiar with horror. Are there other films like that have a big poignant point like that? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre is almost more like an art film than it is like a horror film.
I've actually never seen that.
Ooh, the first one, the like original is very, very good. The remake is fine. But the original, I mean, like it could be, maybe, is it racism or Vietnam? It's very up to interpretation. But yeah, I think people, that was one thing people kept saying about Jordan Peele is like, finally, socially conscious horror. And it's like, well, that's kind of always been horror. All of the Dawn of the Dead movies or all of the Day of the, whatever you want.
And also
all
like
the George Romero
the whole
movies.
rules, you know, like not having sex or like you get killed, you don't get killed unless you have sex and like these old like tropes that were brought out in Scream, which is why I like Scream so much. The first one, I don't know about all the sequels, but
yeah, they're okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, as sequels go, especially Scream 5 was really good, which is funny to say because it's like the fifth one.
I didn't see Scream 5.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Scream is another great example. And sex in particular, sex and horror seem to go together so well that I think most of the time a good horror movie has a point of view.
Yeah. And it should. I think any movie should have a point of view, I would hope. But
Yeah,
I
totally.
think that there is a lot of fluff out there. But but yeah. Cool. Well, do you want to make horror films someday? Is that...
Would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Can I ask you real quick about your other job? Your writing?
Oh, sure, yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
if you're open about that or not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember talking to you, like, you write, you like, ghostwrite for, like, Like what you ghostwrite for?
Most stuff just gets published on Kindle.
Yeah.
I think I told you when I was talking to you about it then, I was writing a lot of romance because there's a big appetite for it. I think because previous to like the e-readers, you have to like bring up the book you're buying to the cashier and buy it. But now you don't have to do that. So you'll find books like Pounded in the Butt by a T-Rex or something like that. Shout out to Chuck Tingle.
Is that a real book?
Oh, yeah.
Wait. Pounded in the what's that again?
Pounded in the Butt. But search Chuck Tingle. But there's ones about, getting pounded by a T-Rex and getting pounded by all sorts of things. You can get pounded by any.
So you would write stories about people getting pounded by these things?
No, I never. I was never. Mostly, it would be like a lady has sex with a werewolf, or I wrote a bunch about like a billionaire. Which,
did you have to go like? So is it like more pornographic or more romance?
More romance.
Okay,
so
it's
usually
like,
just one chapter would be sex.
Okay, gotcha. So you would like find the way that they find the difference about this person, and they see the good. So it's basically.
Sure.
Did you ever write a version of Beauty and the Beast?
No, oh yeah. Kind of. I mean, I did have that one where she fucks the werewolf. But yeah, the formula you're talking about is like, yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah, it's like the Twilight thing.
There's fucking, but it's not mostly fucking.
Have you seen Warm Bodies?
No.
That's about like a zombie and a human.
Oh,
that's
I heard
interesting.
about that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But so are these full books or like short books?
They're like 10,000 words usually, so that would be.
How did you get into this? You're like, hey, I want to write weird romance books.
Honestly, I saw that was the one that had. I was already writing. I was like, well, I need to get paid for something because I have to pay rent. And I realized romance was the genre that seemed to have the most jobs. So I wrote some samples and then said, can I do it? And usually the people publishing it are non-native speakers, like from like Taiwan and stuff. So they're like, yeah, you can write. Go ahead. Fine.
Wow, your sentences make sense. Yeah,
exactly right. Exactly right. I mean, I doubt anybody is really getting off from reading my books, but...
I just thought that was so funny when you told me that. I was like, that's so interesting. Like,
yeah. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't pay great, so I think I'm going to probably do it more as a side gig in the coming months. But
is it like, how do they do that? Yeah, how do we go from like werewolves to one-upping each other with like vampires and that kind of thing?
I think that there's sometimes new genres. Probably the newest one is Dragon Shifter, where it's like a person fucks a dragon.
How is that even possible without like the person
They usually
dying?
turn into a person first.
Yeah. Oh, the dragon.
Yeah. So now,
sorry. All these things you're describing, like, how is that possible?
No, yeah. But I don't think that it's so much one-upping as it is like actually rehashing the same tropes over and over. Because, I mean, well, different people will bring different things to it, and there will be different stories and stuff. But at the same time, this is kind of gross, but you know how, like, nobody wants to watch the same porn video more than once for the most part? I think it's the same thing with these romance books. You read a romance book and you're like, I like vampires, but I don't want to read that same vampire book over and over again.
So so you believe that people ultimately want to hear the same story over and over again. That's what we do in movies and horror films and comedies, like the rom-coms that are always going to end up together. There's going to be the sad moment 20 minutes out from the end, and then I mean, because we are just telling the same stories over and over again. Some of them, like the one thing with the Matrix and Harry Potter and the Ring, Lord of the Rings and all that. There's like a lot of the similar stories. Do you think there are still original stories to be told that haven't been told?
Oh yeah, probably. I mean, I bet they start in nonfiction.
Yeah.
And then they get fictionalized.
So some crazy shit goes down.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then that's cool. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing the podcast. And as we're winding down, I always ask my guests, because we talked about dreams a little bit earlier, what are your dreams for your future?
Not to die soon. I guess that is dark, but it's like, oh boy, you look at Twitter, it's like, flee.
I know, we lost another comedian, too.
Oh yeah, Charlie Murphy.
Yeah, that's sad.
Remember, like, in 2004?
That's been 3 in like a week.
Oh yeah. But in 2004, we were all just saying Charlie Murphy lines over and over. Over and over and over. I remember just, it was like, I don't know, 7th grade or something like that. We had a school-wide ban on making Chappelle jokes because people were just screaming Rick James all the time. Which, that's so cool. So, I mean, it is sad he died, but people definitely loved his work.
Yeah. That's cool. But back to your dreams.
Yes, of course. Yeah, not dying. Would love to keep writing and doing comedy. I guess I'm living my dreams. Oh, you know what I really would love? Fucking healthcare. Could somebody get me healthcare?
Hey, everyone listening, please, someone, donate to Nikki for healthcare.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, I don't need you. I want the government. I don't want any...
Obamacare, you can help.
Yeah,
I'm on Obamacare.
I'm on a wait. I don't know. It's a very boring story. But yeah, so something like that. Just basic human needs. Would love to get those taken care of.
Yeah. Those are pretty reachable goals. Not dying in the near future. Do you have any bigger goals, or is that...
Oh, so I'd love to make a movie one day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's cool. And have people go see it.
Yeah. That's even a crazier goal. But
that's awesome. Well, I'm sure that those are pretty attainable goals, so.
Yes, yeah, I'd like to keep them attainable.
Awesome. Well, thanks for watching the podcast, and we want to say good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks for listening to Sleeping with Sarah, where I slept with Nikki Martin. You can catch Nikki every week at Chuck at 9 p.m. at Beat Kitchen, and follow him on Twitter at PissMistress. This podcast is part of the Laugh Factory Podcast Network. Please remember to subscribe and rate and review on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and SoundCloud. We're brought to you by Audible.com. Please go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. I'm releasing a new podcast each week. Be sure to tune in to find out who I have in bed with me next. Thanks to Josh Bryant for the music. You can find out more on sleepingwithsarah.com. And please follow me on Twitter at Sarah Albritton. Until next time, good night.
Sleeping with Sarah.